Hello, everyone. This is Will.
This is Alex.
Welcome back to another episode of They Mostly Come Out at Night.
Oh, baby. Mostly.
Oh, God. You know what? I love the 80s. Like, we're only a little bit into it, and we've had some shit already, but, like, man.
This is good.
Let's have some good stuff tonight.
Now, I wasn't sure.
I wasn't either.
I wasn't sure if we were going to watch this.
Because you were, like, kind of back and forth on it. Like, if you could get it, and then, you know, like, you were saying maybe you couldn't, and then...
Because this movie's very hard to get a hold of. I'm not going to give details on how I on how I tracked this down. I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, no,
But-
we don't need to tell you.
No.
Let's just say it's not on any streaming services.
No, that's the problem. So it's an Australian movie, and I'm guessing that this did not get any fucking release outside of Australia. But I was like, well, we're probably going to watch this movie, The Chain Reaction, or we're going to watch The Alien Dead, which is on streaming services.
Yes.
But I got a hold of this movie, and I just, did a little see-through on The Alien Dead. And I got worried because on IMDb, the first genre listed is comedy.
Yes.
And I was like, oh.
You're like, oh God, no.
And then I
we're
previewed
not
it.
watching this.
I previewed it, and I got flashbacks of Savage Water.
You said it was what you described it as hee-haw bullshit.
And there's hee-haw, like, country yokels in the swamps comedy. And I was like, no. So, we watched this instead.
Now, okay. So, I like this movie even more after I looked a little bit into it. And,
Yes.
You can appreciate it a little bit more. And I mean, I'm starting to really, like, come around to, like, Australian cinema.
Oh, yes.
Like, I didn't know this was, like an untapped resource.
There's a lot of...
But, man, there's a lot of really good
crazy shit
stuff here. Like, because, like, it's weird because when you watch foreign films and even Australian films, they're not as tame as American films. Like, even from this era.
That
like,
was the thing. I mean, that was kind of Australian cinema's thing.
Well, they were kind of crazy, and they did a lot of, like, punk stuff and a lot of, like... Because they were going through, like, a lot of transition in the 80s.
Well, that and,
so,
like, this is, like... I mean, I don't know what it is. I think it's just... I don't know why. Because compared to, like, other, like, I don't know, like, even British cinema, Australian cinema is just way more, like, crazy.
Yeah, it's just wild.
It's,
like, they're,
like you said, it's punk rock.
Yeah. They're not afraid to, like, be kind of just out, like, way out of left field,
Yeah.
like, insane. Not saying this movie was, like, totally insane, but...
It is very, very, very unique.
You can appreciate it because there's a lot of people that worked on Mad Max on this film.
Yes.
Even George Miller, he's a co-producer on this film.
Yes, and there's, like, you looked it up, there's, like, 5 actors.
There's 5 actors that are, like, side characters in the first Mad Max.
That are in this movie.
And a lot of reviewers, like, before we get too into it, and this got me kind of stoked for the movie, a lot of reviewers kind of, like, considered this almost to be, like, almost like a prequel to Mad Max. Like,
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's obviously not, but they're saying it's, like, kind of
in
like
your
a,
head,
a
you can see it.
spiritual successor to Mad Max. Like,
Yeah.
it's a spiritual prequel.
Yeah.
Because in your head you can kind of connect them, and it kind of
You can.
makes sense if you actually look at it in the timeline, but it's not like an official thing.
No.
So don't get your hopes up thinking we found the prequel to Mad Max. So,
We're
like,
the first people, Will.
why the world's so fucked in Mad Max. It just is, okay? George Miller is not afraid to drop you into his fucking worlds.
No, he doesn't give a shit.
Like, he doesn't give
and I appreciate
a
that.
single iota of a fuck. And it was just like, here you go. Like, and I appreciate that. And again, it's just fucking Australian filmmakers. They just...
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, crazy ideas that work.
Yep. And here's one of them. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, it just works. So we watched The Chain Reaction tonight. Great B-movie Australian.
It's like
it's so good.
it's weird. It's like a B-movie paranoia thriller.
Yeah, because there's not, like, a ton of action in this movie, to be honest.
A lot of it's just, like, suspense and...
It's a lot of people talking and a lot of, like, intrigue and a
Yeah.
lot of, like, you're curious of what's going on.
And like, will they make it out alive and reveal the truth, so to speak?
I like it because it's one of those movies where we don't know what's going on, and you're figuring it out as the characters are figuring it out.
Yeah, the main characters.
Yeah. So it's like you kind of figure it out as they do. You don't know everything right off the bat. Again, just dropping you into a world.
Yeah, and keeping you invested in your film.
Yeah, especially when there's like a few action scenes. There's not a lot. There's mostly chase scenes, but
Car chases, yeah.
It's not. Again, it's not a ton of them, but it kept me interested the entire time.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to know what was going to happen.
You want to know what's going to happen.
So I guess we'll get into it, but it's really good, and if you can find it, I really suggest you watch it, but it's really hard to find.
Unless you're in Australia, then I'm sure you can find it. Probably on your own, like...
You might be able to order it if you have, like, a region unlocked, like, player.
I will give you a hint, my good sir. If you're talking Blu-rays, Australia and the US and all of East Asia are in the same region.
Okay, so if you see a Blu-ray or a DVD of this movie...
That is how I got you.
Grab it.
This is how, Will, I got you a copy of The Man from Hong Kong.
It's true.
Because I ordered it from
Australia. Okay, good.
The joy of Australian being in the same region. Fuck region locks.
Yeah, I hate region locks. I think they're... Nah. We won't get into that.
That's a different discussion.
That's a different podcast. So here we go. Chain reaction. So it starts with like, God. So it's a guy. It's like a scientist. It's called Waldo. It's like a waste and like disposal.
It's like, I don't remember. It's
land something.
It's for basically disposing like radioactive waste.
It's an acronym for a place that disposes of radioactive waste, like mostly liquids.
And this guy's like,
he's like sleeping on the job, and there's like an earthquake.
Well, it starts shaking even before.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But eventually, like, it shakes a lot. The alarm goes off.
The alarm goes off, so he goes to kind of figure out what the hell's going on. And there's like a little leak, and he tries to like adjust some like
some of the pipes.
Yeah, some pipes and everything, and then one of them bursts and like just pours all over him. Just contaminates the hell out of him.
Because we don't know yet, like, what's in there necessarily.
Well, it kind of just... I mean, honestly, it just looks... It's water.
Well, it's, like, kind of like dirty water.
Yeah. Like, that's all it looks like.
But he kind of, like, faints. We also, like, while he's, like, doing that, we get, like, some... I love the cinematography in this. Just lots of really interesting shots. Lots of interesting editing. It's a very good looking movie.
There's some really cool, like, I don't know, like, it's like the other one where it's very stylish. It's very, like, well set up. Like, every scene looks really cool. And there's some, like, really cool imagery, like, still shots that, like, we could probably, like, there's like a few still shots that I was like, that's really, really cool. That's really well done. I could
just
like hang that on a wall.
Like you have you'll just have like a very like simple scene, but the way that it's shot makes it kind of stand out.
Well, like for example, we'll get to it, but like one of the scenes where they're investigating something and it's like the headlights of the car, and then he's holding a flashlight. But everything is like streaming, so it's like you like have lines like outlining him.
Yeah.
In light,
and it's shot from like the down on the ground, looking up.
Really cool. It looks like something out of like a comic book.
It's just lots of style, like lots of shot where like someone's talking and then the other character is like reflected in a mirror.
Yeah.
From the side.
They do that a lot actually.
But
lots of low shots too. I've noticed this director really likes, like the cinematographer and the director really like low shots,
especially when they're like shooting the villain.
Yes.
But yeah, so the guy like passes out after he's drenched in water, and now there's like it's like a lab, and they're all kind of looking at him, and he's like basically like complete like closed off in like plastic.
He's like in a contamination chamber.
And then they're all talking, and they're basically saying that he's contaminated.
Yes.
And he wakes up and he starts talking, and they're telling him that he basically has like 3 days, maybe.
So as they're
tops.
talking to him, he's like reaching over. He's like reaching out to this like video thing because he knows the whole system.
Well, because he starts asking, like, one of the guys, his friend, is there, and he's asking him, like, how much got out, like how much water got contaminated.
Yeah.
And
Like,
they're
what's
just
the contamination level, I think is what he
Yeah.
says, or something like that.
it's like, I think the term he uses is like, what's the loss level?
Yeah.
But the guy tells him like it's uncontrollable.
Well, but when he's saying that, the like CEO of the company is like trying to like stop
All
him
the
from
higher
saying
ups are like
they're,
there,
they're like trying to do this whole cover up thing,
and they're
so
like, "Don't worry, it's fine.
they're like,
we
no,
got it. We got it."
got it under control. It's fine. It's totally like everything's fine.
And as he's like telling him, like, as the other guy tells him, like, it's all gone under control, it's all out of control. He turns off like the cameras recording him, like little by little he turns them off, and then they run in there, and he's gone.
So he escapes, and then
He escapes by hiding in it's like a truck that's like leaving, and he just hides in the back, basically.
Yeah, under some like equipment. And so
And then in the meantime, we get a quick shot of like
it's like a protest of Waldo.
it's a protest of
like chemical spilling.
chemical spilling, pollution, nuclear waste, the whole shebang.
Yes. It's like a giant protest that they're staging in lieu of like Waldo contaminating
Yeah.
a bunch of water. And they're worried that it's going to get into the drinking water
Yep.
and start affecting people. Foreshadowing here. So then we cut to an auto shop.
With I like
There's okay.
you know it's an 80s movie, and you know it's Australia because everyone's office has like multiple
like nude women
nude
all
women
over.
posters.
I love the setup for this shot because there's a guy grinding on like a car and he's just like sticking his tongue out and like wagging his head back and
It's-
forth, just like just like I don't know why they did that, but it's like it works.
It works. I don't know.
There's that level of flair that you're
yeah.
just like, okay,
Well,
you
I don't
didn't
like-
need to do that, but it adds to the world.
Well, that and like when they introduce our character, he's like on the phone, and it's like it's panning over like all of like the photographs he has on his wall, and it's like you see him and his wife together, and then there's a photograph of him like building a car, and there's a photograph of him racing, and like all this other stuff. It's just
Well,
like
It's kind of weird. It's kind of
you
cool.
don't need like someone to tell us this.
Yeah, because you're establishing who he is just in this like little tiny scene,
It takes like 10 seconds.
like actual filmmakers do,
Where
they
we know
give you information because they don't think you're a dumb fuck.
exactly
Like you can piece it together. They know you're smart enough to piece it together.
joy.
It's great. They don't have
And-
to hold your fucking hand.
And he's essentially taking some time off, and he's gonna go out to the countryside.
They're gonna go on like a holiday.
And I don't know if they're married yet, but
He does say wife eventually, so
I guess they are married.
I guess they are married.
And his wife shows up with like their kids, and
They
their
drop-
mom's there, and they like kind of hand the kids off
they
to
just
their mom
pawn off the kids to
so
the
that
mom.
they can go off to the countryside and fuck.
Yep, exactly. And the mom's like not happy about it at all.
She's like basically like, I can't believe like
I love the
she
joke
married
though,
him.
because the whole time the guy is holding like a little like fuel tube for a car.
Yeah.
And he's like kind of playing around with it, and he's like, "Don't have too much fun and everything." And then like they leave, and he goes up to the mom, and he's like, "So like, you need any work done on your car?" And like he lets go of the thing, and
It's just
it
flapping.
like pops up and like dangles in front of her.
Well, there's a visual gag later that that we both appreciate it involving champagne. Because
Yes.
they give him like a bottle of champagne to like celebrate him,
Oh, it's,
like
it's
I guess
coming up.
them going on vacation. But they drive off.
So they're driving in during the night, and
We get we get like
oh no, sorry, no, sorry, I'm thinking of a different scene. My bad. So this is the escapee. This guy that's driving the truck that has the guy in it is driving, and they're surveying like the water samples, like the rivers and stuff like that.
And the guy, like, he stops next to this, like, tunnel, and there's a payphone nearby.
Yes.
And he's, like, looking around. The guy who's hiding from the very beginning, who's contaminated, he, like, grabs, like a tube and chokes him to death.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get a scene of...
So he's at our main guy's at a gas station.
It's like a convenience store.
And he's kind of hitting on the...
It's more she's hitting on him.
Yeah, she's interested in him.
And there's, like, these two, like, bumblefuck cops, which will come into play later.
And then we get just a maintenance guy that always seems to be around.
Yeah. He's always around.
More foreshadowing.
And he just goes there to, like, I think just pick up, like, some snacks. And... He starts driving away, and we get a quick shot of like of this like woman who is like taking notes, through her window, and I guess she's like writing down like the car model, license plate, all. She's just like a peeper. She just takes notes.
And she's apparently a phone operator for this small town.
She's a phone operator for this like tiny town, and it's just like all in her home.
Yeah, she has like the old school like
the switchboard
plug it for in. The phone signals.
And a call starts coming in, and it's the guy who is contaminated making a call from like this phone booth, and he's calling. We don't know him yet, but it's like his contact.
Like
and he's telling him like it's out everywhere.
It's like, I don't know. They're saying that it's under control, but it's not, and like it's been. Like the water supply has been contaminated and all this stuff. Like, you know, it's bad. Like
it's all out.
And I've been contaminated, and I only have a few days left.
And then he sees like
I think he says he only has like 3 days left to live.
And then he basically tells them like they're coming for me, and hangs up the phone.
Yes.
So this woman like kind of like listens in and is just kind of like baffled by what the hell's going on.
Yeah, so we get the couple driving at night, and the wife sees something on the side of the road, like it's like a shadow
just run across.
So she like says they should back up and investigate it, and they see like a fence that's all torn down, and they see the truck that the guy was hiding in.
It's like
in a ravine,
submerged in the river.
This is where we get that cool scene of him holding the flashlight and everything. That's really cool. And then he goes down, and like you see, like the only light is the light from the headlights illuminating the
water around it,
which really looks cool too.
The only thing he finds in there is just a map, but there's no evidence of a driver, anything.
Yeah. So he's just like, okay, well, you know, and they're just like, okay, hedge your bets, and they just like leave basically for the cabin. And so now they're in the cabin, and they're all like having fun, and he's like sitting down at the piano.
Yeah, and he and she like she's just playing a song, and
she takes out the champagne and like unwraps it, and then they like hug, and like they say something, and then like the champagne cork.
One of them makes like an innuendo,
and then like the cork like just pops off by itself, and like a bunch of foam flows out.
And the scene cuts to we get like someone is going through the phone switch operator's house.
Yes.
And looking through all of her notes on like who's calling and everything. And she hears like something. And then she walks out, and this guy basically kills her.
Yeah, and then he calls one of his contacts and is like, "Hey, like, I found out who he called.
Like, I found out this, and this person like went off in that direction. Like, it's this car."
And basically saying like, you know, this lady won't be a problem anymore. Like, she doesn't know anything because I, you know, killed her.
Yeah.
So then we get a scene of the couple rolling around on the floor naked,
and someone
slams their hand and their face on the window,
and she sees it, and then the guy runs outside, and this person's like completely passed out.
Yep. So they bring him in and start to take care of him. And it's the guy from the beginning,
and he's like got a bump on his head, and he's just completely passed out from shock.
Yes.
So they don't know. They just let him rest.
Yep. So now we get it's the next morning, but before we get to the couple and the guy, we have the bad guys like roaming like headquarters basically.
Yes, it's like
it's a giant like truck that's like covered in this canvas thing.
and inside is just our main bad guy whose name is Gray, and it's just like his little setup where he has like they have breakfast and he has a mirror to shave in, and
So he's shaving in the mirror, and then we see his henchmen come over, and
they start having breakfast.
He's very quiet.
And then he asks him something, and the henchman just does sign language. The guy's like, "Oh, okay."
Mm-hmm.
But he basically tells him like, "Yeah, we know it's the only people who live up there is this couple."
Yes.
And we know that because by this point they found the truck in the river, and they found the body of the guy he killed.
Yes.
So they know that's all what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I'll mention is that the bad guy in this movie talks in like slogans,
Yeah, it's great.
and it's really weird, but I liked
It's
it
totally on purpose. Like,
because he just says like, like time is of the essence, and like just like he just talks in slogans.
slogans and like catchphrases. It seems really stupid, but it's actually really well done.
Yeah, like I don't know. It's just every single line of dialogue he has is like a catchphrase or a slogan, but it totally works.
So our dude, our main, like the scientist guy that got contaminated,
He
wakes up and he starts like exploring around the house, and he goes into the couple's room, and they're both like sleeping, and he like looks at them for a second and then tries to leave and like turns on the radio accidentally,
And then he goes and like tries opening the car.
and the alarm goes off, and so the woman runs out first and like tries to calm him down and is like, "Hey, it's okay." Like
And the guy like takes his gun because he thinks the guy is like stealing it.
and
his
she's
car.
like, "Just calm down." Like he's like, "Don't worry, the gun's not loaded."
The gun's
and,
not even loaded.
and he's like, the guy's
Thanks for the
the
backup.
guy's like freaking out, and
But they're like, then eventually they start talking to him, and he mentions like watching like Marilyn Monroe movies and all this stuff, and eventually like they kind of figure out that he thinks that he's got like some
like amnesia almost, like
a
he,
temporary amnesia because he thinks it's like 1957 and he just graduated from college.
Yeah, and they reveal it's 1977, not 1957.
Yeah, like he's way off, but
he's like 20 years? Yeah, 20
Yeah.
years.
But he keeps
behind.
having like, and he also keeps having these visions of like water and like a guy in like a fucking, it's like a guy in like a hazmat suit and a gas mask, like submerged underwater.
Mm-hmm.
Just keeps having visions of that.
So then the dude, our husband, is going to the lake. He goes to like a river, and he's like wondering
Because essentially their water is like blocked off.
something's clogging the pipe, and so he goes to check what it is, and he like swims in the river, and
It's a fish, and it's
a
like
fish,
dead.
and he throws it on the rock, and he's like, "That's what was causing our problem." And she comes up and like looks at it, and he's swimming around, and he pulls her in, and
They
they
mess
like
around.
frolic around in the water, and it's like a quick scene, but
I mean,
it's important.
well, we
Because
know why.
You know why, like they're in the water.
And you can also
obviously-
guess why the fish is probably dead.
Yes. And it's all like bloated and stuff.
Yeah,
So
thumbs up.
You know what's going on. So then we get a quick scene of also the guy watching an older movie,
Mm-hmm.
and the TV kind of starts talking to him.
Well, he starts
It's
remembering.
like a telekinesis kind of thing.
Yeah,
but
well, he basically starts
it's
hearing
what
like
are you,
his
what
own,
is your mission, and like what are you doing and stuff like that.
and he starts kind of slightly remembering things.
Yes.
And this is also like while he's like reading like a children's book,
Mm-hmm.
and he starts remembering like how his grandpa would read to him and read him to sleep and all this stuff. But he just kind of keeps remembering all this stuff, and it's all he knows is there's something to do with water, liquids, etc.
So our husband decides to go and he's going to go into town to make a phone call, and he's
About this person.
yes, and
Because they take a picture of him. They take like a Polaroid of him.
yeah,
Because he wants to go into town and like report him to the police because they think that the truck that they saw on the river was like this guy had a car accident.
yes.
So
So he's driving there, and he kind of sees some weird stuff. Like there's some people on the side of the road, like the
well, he sees a car, and it's the fucking bad guy coming.
well. So remember, he passes like some scientists, like a little bit before.
Oh yeah,
And then he like goes past, and then the bad guy's completely blocking the road. So he like drives around him, and he's like, "What the hell? What the hell is going on?" And then the bad guy backs up, and
They
like
start chasing him.
It's like a huge car chase.
and we get a car chase, and it's great.
It's really well done. They do a lot of like shots from like the roof of like the bad guy's car, and then they'll do like the back end of the
Lots of like POV shots, which is the car driving super fast down this road. Eventually, he loses them.
So he goes into like a tunnel. He like tricks the guy into going sideways, and he goes into a
Well, because
tunnel.
earlier in the scene, he has the guy like run into a rock,
Yes.
and it fucks up like his back wheel, and it's like dangling, and eventually like
Yeah, he
comes
goes
loose.
sideways, blocks off the tunnel, and then our henchman gets out and starts chasing the car down.
Yeah, because like I wasn't sure what was happening at first, but eventually like because the guy he like after this tunnel there's a phone booth, so our main character goes in the phone booth to make a phone call
He
And-
picks up the phone and then sees a bunch of like scientists coming towards
in
him,
like hazmat suits,
and then the other guy coming for him and like shooting at him.
so he gets in his car, just keeps going.
Yeah, he just like runs towards the frickin' the town. And so he gets to the town and he
And-
like starts like pounding on the sheriff's office.
Yeah, like the police station, and no one's there.
Yeah, so he starts like looking around.
He goes in the convenience store and he's like, where's the cops? And she's like, oh well, the deputy's fishing. He's like, really?
We also we did see the deputy during like really quickly
When they were
during
doing the car chase, he was like
chase.
fishing.
Yeah, because he was, and then he like told the other sheriff guy to like keep an eye out for this guy that's coming
Yeah.
into town. So we get a quick scene of the wife and the dude.
Also, before this, we get in the convenience store. There's a guy, a repairman,
The guy that's
Fixing-
always there, yeah.
fixing an arcade machine, and he doesn't seem to really know what he's doing, but he's very much like kind of listening in on what everyone's
The
saying.
conversation
Yeah.
between like the husband and the convenience
worker
store.
there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get a scene of the guy who's got the temporary amnesia.
And he's talking about some stuff about like how he's like trying to remember what's going on, and like he kind of has a vague idea, and like something happened to him. And then she like goes to he's like I need to leave. I'm parched. And
Oh
she's
yeah,
like-
because they're
she's like,
at the river.
She's like, you can drink the river water. It's like pure spring water. It's fine. And he's like, no, don't drink the water.
Yeah, because she's going to drink, and he stops her because he knows deep down something's up.
Yes.
But eventually, like the guy, and then it goes back to the convenience store, and he's like still like talking about like all this, and then eventually he's like, do you have any ammo? Like, can I buy some ammo?
So he buys some ammo, and like basically the town now is invaded by these henchmen.
Because that mobile fucking command center thing shows up.
Yeah, it has
with
a bunch of dudes in it.
bunch
and,
of guys in hazmat suits.
They're all searching around the town, and he has to like sneak around.
Because they start looking at his car,
Yes,
specifically at his car.
because he comes out of the convenience store and sees them like looking at his car, and so he goes around the back and like sneaks through a bunch of like abandoned cars and stuff like that. And then he goes to the mobile unit where they're all coming from, and like tries to sneak around that.
I also wanted to mention that like in the convenience store scene, they mentioned that like the they're like the old switchboard operator like died in her sleep
Yep.
because they killed her. But yeah, he goes to that mobile command center,
And he goes inside the truck because he like is trying to hide from him, and he sees like both the cars.
He sees two cars parked there. One of them is the one that was chasing him.
And he sees like a weird plastic thing in one of the cars, and like he like slowly tries to open the door, hoping the alarm doesn't go off. And he opens the door, and the old lady's like head like bobs out.
Mm-hmm.
And so he like gets freaked out. He goes out and he tries to find the cops, and he eventually like gets to the cops,
And then
they arrest
he
him.
says like I never thought I'd be happy to see the pigs.
Yeah.
And then they show up and he's like telling them like there's a body in this truck, and they arrest him.
Yes.
They arrest him for the murder of the driver of like the guy who was strangled with the like the tubes.
Yeah, because they think he's responsible, and he ran him off the road, and like,
But
yeah.
the fucking Gray from Waldo is there, and basically they're just setting him up,
Yes.
essentially.
He's like the main person to blame. So
And I don't know at one point we
don't
get
they
this.
arrest the other guy at this point?
So essentially,
I
like
can't
the-
remember why they arrest him, but I know there's a lot of talking.
yes, because he sees all of this, and he basically, because the guy who's there is like the fucking arcade repairman. He's the guy who we saw earlier on the phone talking to the contaminated guy.
Yes. He's
So
the informant.
He's the guy. He's his contact,
Yes.
essentially. So he wants to get into the jail to talk to our main character, and so he figures out a way. He sees the cop park his motorcycle,
Oh, that's right. And then he backs his ass into it.
and then he's like backs his car into it, and then like pretends like he doesn't know what he's doing, and then tries bribing him, and
He's
then
like, come on, take the money.
and then all the fucking townspeople are like watching. So the cop like has second thoughts, even though he's totally about to fucking take the money, and the guy's like, "You prick." And he sticks him in prison.
Yep. Sticks him in the jail cell, and then we get the scene of where the guy is getting sicker. Like you can tell he's more like sickly.
his hand is like bulging. He gets like a red
He has this
mark
like
on his forehead.
weird stuff all over his chest and everything, and she's like trying to clean him up. It's just basically her taking care of him.
Yeah.
And there's more like there's a little more exposition about like how he's getting sicker and how he thinks he only has a few more days.
Well, we get a quick scene where she's making coffee in like a French press, and he mentions something about what was it, like 269.
Yes.
He's like, I just have this in my head, 269, and she's like, what's 269?
It's 239.
239.
239.
And he's like, there's like while he's playing piano, there's all these like little like animal figurines on top of the piano, and as he's playing it, they all like fall over. And then she's like, what's 239? And he's like, it's what killed all the barn animals. But she has no idea what yet. What he's talking about.
We'll get to what 239 actually means, and it's actually a pretty good like
Yeah.
twist. So now we get a quick scene of the scientists just destroying a bunch of like, is it like drinking bottles or
Yeah,
they're like throwing a bunch of shit in
because there's
like,
a quick scene where they the wife and the contaminated guy are walking around like this abandoned like, I don't remember if it's a factory or a mine, but there's like all these like there's all this like spring water there.
yes, so they're destroying all the spring water because they don't want anyone to drink it.
Yeah, they're just throwing everything
All
in
the
there.
while where they're like scanning everything with
And
these,
everything's like
these EKG is it EKG?
whatever the
Or,
fuck
well,
they
the
use
radiation things.
the radiation scanners, and
Yes.
everything's just fucking
Yeah, it's like going wild. Like everything's contaminated because everything's touching the water.
yeah.
And so they show up to the house of the wife.
We also get a few scenes of like the two guys in the jail cell are making friends,
Yes.
kind of, and eventually, and the other guy like tells him like, like Heinrich, the contaminated guy, is my contact.
Yes.
Like we've known each other for years. Like he's been working in this thing, and like, I'm like he's like an anti like, radiation, nuclear energy activist.
I love how this contact is now dressed in a suit.
Well, because he
Like
takes
he's not all greasy
well, because he has
anymore.
his mechanic suit on, and then while they're in the jail cell, he just takes it off, and now he's in a nice suit.
Mhm.
Like he
And his
just,
like hair is all nice and
he
everything.
had it under there the whole time. But he tells him like, and he starts telling him about like the chain reaction theory.
Yes.
He's like,
Where it's like if like there's contaminated water and
because
like,
what happens is like they bring them food, and it's like a fucking canned beans and like it's like a smoothie, which is a generous prison to give you a fucking smoothie. But okay, Australians are different, I guess. But they're talking about this, and he's like, yeah, it's the chain reaction theory. So it's the water, then it's the grass, and then it's the cows, then it's the milk. Basically, it's like
the
everything.
whole world gets contaminated
Like
by
the
this chain
whole
reaction.
ecosystem.
Yes,
and
because
then,
of it infects the water system first and then grows from there.
and then us at the end.
Yes.
And he's like, so do you think like this food is fine? He's like, oh, baked beans, like always. But I probably skip on the milkshakes.
Yep. So, because the bad guy goes to the house and like kind of takes the wife prisoner, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he starts talking to her in fucking marketing slogans and catchphrases about how like, and he thinks that like they're all in on it together.
Yes, like they're all like in cahoots.
Because he's
and-
like, oh, like how convenient we have, because the wife's like a nurse.
yes,
That's why she's been really good at like taking care of him, and she knows what to do. He's like, oh, it's like a nurse and a race car driver. How convenient.
no, I forget how they escaped the jail cell. I know he convince the
No, apparently the bad guys want to see him.
oh yeah, so he makes bail.
So they're like, hey, like you're wanted
Yes,
at Paradise, whatever the ranch is called. And so he takes him out of there, and the cop can't start the car. The guy has to start his own car, so he like takes off his fucking, handcuffs, and the guy starts driving like a fucking madman.
like a madman up to the house because he knows something's up.
He knows something's up, and we get scenes of like the contaminated guy is like in bad shape.
Oh yeah, he looks horrible. He's like almost like has boils on his face.
We also get
and,
like everyone's like there's all these guys in like hazmat suits and these really like sinister looking gas masks. They're all scanning everything, and everything is just fucking
Yep.
like going off. And
So the husband gets there and like almost immediately gets the shit beat out of him by
yeah, because
a bunch of dudes.
he gets there and like they're all there. They beat him up and they take him to the house.
And he finds the wife and like basically she explains that like they're both contaminated because they swam in the spring.
Yeah, they swam in there like they're all
Like they've been drinking the water, they're all contaminated. Like it's like this huge level event.
yeah.
That the whole water system is like contaminated right now.
And but they're like
and it-
asking him like who's the contact? Like who's he contacting? We know that there's a contact in the outside. Who the hell is it? And as they have a gun up to his wife's head, the guy tells them like he's in the jail cell in town.
Yes.
So they go off to get him.
He says something about Waldo at this point, but I can't remember exactly what
Yeah.
it was. It was like something about how like Waldo's like the leading like waste management and like this could be really bad if it gets out and like
Well, because there's like a few of the scientists there are like they're not like they're genuinely worried
yes.
about what's happening, but you have the fucking like
Our-
corporate
our
assassin.
yeah.
The corporate assassin who's just like, no, it's fine.
Corpo fucking
Everything's fine.
So while they're going to get the guy from the jail cell,
He's in the jail cell and he's like convincing the fucking like convenience store woman to like basically get the keys from the cop and let him out.
yeah. And while they're doing this, they decontaminate. They attempt to decontaminate the husband and the wife.
Yeah, they stick him in these like mobile showers.
And they like just drench them in like this like water. And they try and like everything, and then they pull him out. What happens? And then like we see that Heinrich, the contaminated guy. He's like dying. He's basically on his deathbed.
He's on his last limbs,
Yeah.
and they go in there because he wants to see the wife,
Yes.
and he starts kind of telling her all these little things about like 239 and all this stuff, and eventually they're like, "What's 239?" And it was like, I can't remember the exact thing, but it was like it's the atomic weight of plutonium.
Yeah, it's like plutonium, and it's like literally like, it's literally infected the entire water system
Yeah,
of everything.
and that basically, like, even though they're like on the outside, they've been decontaminated.
He's basically saying that the chain reaction has started already.
That even the slightest molecule of it on the inside of your body is enough to like mutate you.
Yeah, so there's no way to get rid of it.
Because there's another scene earlier where he's like where the contaminated guy was in bed, and he like looks, and they have like a poster of it's like Neil Armstrong on the moon, in like his astronaut suit, and he gets like freaked out. He's like they're like the men from Pluto are here. That's what he's referring to.
Yep.
Plutonium.
Plutonium. Yep.
And they're immediately like, well, at least the husband is thinking like, we have to like, because basically the contaminated guy starts telling them like, you have to tell people.
Not to drink the water. Yeah.
People, like, the world has to know about this. And then there's some other scientists who are sympathetic to it. Like,
Yes.
yeah, people have to know. So they hatch breakouts.
Yes.
They get out of there. Like, the husband, like, off camera, basically steals a guy's hazmat suit and takes his gun. And they make a run for it. And one of the scientists, like, throws Heinrich's body in their car as, like, evidence.
Yeah.
And we get a lit car chase.
Oh yeah, it's super awesome. And then like, so they pull over on the side of the road in this other car, and they start running off this thing. And for some reason, the bad guy, just because they wanted a cool ass scene, he just like ramming speed, just fucking rams into this like pulled over car.
Well, because even before that, we get like they drive through like this abandoned like mine thing, and there's like a guy in a hazmat suit that they just run into.
Yep, he like rolls over the car and everything.
And then we think that everything's fine. And he grabs like the wife and starts choking her. And the husband takes like a shotgun and shoots him, and his fucking chest explodes.
Mm-hmm.
Great stunts.
And then they like pull over.
But yeah, my favorite part is like at the end, because like
the bad guy for some reason just fucking rams this car, just full speed.
I don't know why they did this, but again,
Probably because it looked fucking awesome.
because it's an 80s movie, and because it looked fucking awesome. Because when he runs into this car that's parked, he just
It's
launches.
a real stunt. Like, so they launches off the car, and, like slams down on the ground, and like just glass and everything everywhere. 'Cause it's all like slow mo.
Everything's destroyed.
It's great.
And like the fucking guy from the jail cell, the contact, is there waiting for them. And there's like a news camera just filming everything. And then we just get like a shot of like the guy, Heinrich, contaminated man, saying like, people have to know, like you have to tell people.
Yep. So we get a voiceover of
And
them.
it's like this shot of like it's like a dam.
Yeah, like dam dumping a bunch of water.
And then we get like a public service announcement saying like, this is like please pay attention. This is for your own health.
Yep.
Like under no
Under no circumstances should you drink the water.
do not drink the water.
Yep.
I also forgot there was like I completely forgot they did this, because after they have the talk about like the chain reaction and how it infects all the animals, there's like there's like these shots of like birds in the town. And after like those brief shots, because I didn't think they meant anything at first, but then we get like a quick snippet of like some guy in like an apartment in like a big city, and a bird lands on his window.
Yep.
And it's almost like they're implying that like that's how it can spread.
Yep.
It's like a bird eats the grass or whatever out there, flies to the big city.
A small thing starts a chain reaction,
Et cetera,
of
et cetera, et
events,
cetera.
and then there you go. And then like it ends with that voiceover in the dam and everything, and like credits roll as this voiceover is going over, like this radio announcement
with some sick ass synthesizers and guitars.
Now I totally understand how people could think this is like a spiritual like
Yeah.
prequel to Mad Max, because like it never really explains how things got so fucked up in Mad Max, because you know they don't explain it because they don't have to. It doesn't matter. No one cares.
I mean, in Mad Max, it's more like basically gas shortage, oil.
Yes, right, exactly. Which is why there's such an emphasis on like gasoline
On
and
cars
cars and shit like that.
And Gas Town.
Because Mad Max is fucking lit.
Mad Max is amazing.
If you haven't seen Mad Max or any of the sequels or Fury Road, what are you doing with your life?
Mad Max is an Australian institution at this point.
It is a masterpiece.
But
I like all of them, actually.
yes, but I mean, stylistically, this is very similar.
Yeah, I can see the influence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can see why people would compare this to Mad Max.
I mean, there's many actors.
Well, also the director, like I said, the director of Mad Max directed the car chase scenes in this. So it's like,
Which is fitting.
it makes sense, and it is kind of similar because it shows a lot of them like switching the
Oh yeah,
gears and everything. Like he's very like it's very stylish because like they always show them like
He loves,
switching gears, and it's always like they show the dashboard, but they won't show like the driver's face or anything. It's literally just like from the neck down, and then him switching gears and like you know, driving and shit.
and like doing all the fucking gears and
Well, I love how stylish it is because he even wears like driving gloves every single time he gets in a car.
yeah, you know it's
Like it's not like they don't fuck around. Like he
you know
actually,
it's some Australian car chase shenanigans when they're putting on driving gloves.
Yes.
You know where you're gonna get.
and like his car is like pretty like decked out and
It's very like modified, which I mean that's again very Mad Max.
yeah. So, and I get it. Like maybe like people kind of draw the conclusion that like maybe this is what happened to the people in Mad Max, even though obviously it's not. But
Still,
I can see how people could see that.
it
So,
implies societal collapse.
yes, and you know, it's kind of an ambiguous ending because you don't really know if they got to it soon enough, and you assume they didn't because there's that bird scene, and that's already contaminated the water, and they didn't tell anyone for like a day or two after it already got in the water system.
Yeah, it's already like they said, the chain reaction with the animals, etc. It's already spreading.
Well, and there's a lot to be said because the company Waldo is like really slow to react to the whole thing.
Well, they're just covering it up.
Yeah, they're just covering everything up, like so they're not to blame. They don't really care if people get contaminated. It's obvious
No, and they're
because they
willing
have
to.
like a contract killer that kills literally kills people that know the secret.
Yeah.
So it's like it's definitely like a corporate thing where it's like they don't give a shit about people. They just don't want to be to blame and don't want to like
No.
a huge like loss in business.
They just
from
don't
it.
want anybody to know.
Exactly.
Good movie. Honestly,
Really good movie. I like this one a lot.
It's definitely more high concept than I'm used to, as far as this podcast goes.
Yeah. We haven't gotten a lot of movies like this on
Where
the
it's
podcast.
just like, I mean, it's basically a paranoia, like thriller.
We don't get like those almost at all on the podcast.
No,
Very seldom.
no. But I did enjoy this.
I did too, and I think also like I just am falling in love with Australian cinema. It's just good. Like you had me watch Long Weekend, and
Long Weekend's fantastic.
that movie was awesome.
I also had you watch The Loved Ones.
Loved One was great. What's that? Is it Wolf Creek?
Wolf Creek is great.
Wolf Creek is a good one. There's a lot of really good. They're really good at like suspense and horror.
You know what it is? They don't give a single fuck.
Like if you haven't seen The Loved Ones, it is on Prime, and
Yeah.
if you like,
So it's Long Weekend.
yeah, if you enjoy like,
I also
don't know.
watched for Christmas time. I did not know this was an Australian movie, but it is because everyone in the movie is very good at hiding their accents. Better Watch Out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen that one. It's really good.
Better Watch
I
Out
didn't
is
know it was an Australian
insane.
one.
It is Australian. You can tell it's Australian because it goes places where a normal movie won't go, but everyone is very good at hiding their accents, so you can almost believe it's American, but no.
Honestly, if you like the first like Saw, I think you'd like the Loved Ones too.
Yeah.
Like if you're into like that kind of like torture horror, it's a really well done one. It's not like stupid like Hostel or anything like that.
No, it's a great.
It's really well done. They do a
Great story.
They do a great job. The suspense is incredible.
Great story.
The pacing is also really great for a movie like that.
And great, I don't know, just great visuals,
I don't know.
cinematography.
I'm just enjoying all these because they all have that, right?
Yeah.
They all have that style, including this one. I'll be
this
honest.
is-
Like, it has the style. The pacing's pretty good. It was B movie, but like it wasn't boring at all, and it was really
No.
high concept for like how low budget it was.
It's definitely it's aiming above its like budget, which I appreciate.
Yeah, and there wasn't like a lot of action scenes, but you didn't need it. It's like a corporate a corporate cover up thriller.
I mean, I will say the stuff that you do get is great.
Well, and what's implied is pretty horrific too. Is like if you really
Yes.
think about it, because like it's just a company that doesn't care about anyone except for their own asses,
Yes.
and they're willing to kill for that.
Yes.
And then like these like this
Because
guy,
another thing I forgot to mention, but it was also implied that like in the very beginning, because they were asking him like, we want you to the contaminant guy, they were asking him like, we want you to tell us like the effects on you. So in like the very beginning, it's almost implied that they were just gonna keep him there to basically like
die.
just to find out like, oh, what happens if you get contaminated?
Well, they're like, oh, and your contributions to the company will like
Will not be forgotten.
not be forgotten. Like just corporate bullshit.
So they're willing to like let him die, and they just out of curiosity wanted to see
Yeah.
what it'll do to him.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up if you really think about it. I don't know. Yeah, I really like this one. Like Shitty to Pretty. I'm gonna rate this pretty high. I think I'd probably give it. I would say probably an 8 or a 9. Probably a 9,
That's
to be honest.
exactly what I would give it. I give it a 9.
Like it deserves a 9 because the concept is there. It's executed really well. The cinematography is great.
Yeah, the cinematography is great.
The soundtrack is really good, actually. Like
Yeah,
I love the synth 80s soundtrack.
Oh man, it's got this like
It's great.
this banging fucking song that plays during all the car chases.
I like how the action is intentional, and it's just really well filmed. They did a really good job with the action scenes, and they're like kind of spaced out, but it's always at a point where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Right? It's never just like an action scene to fill out time, right? It's always an action scene of like urgency, or like when he's driving all erratically, and you get that like scene of him just driving all over like crazy. It's always because of urgency, and it's always like these frantic chase scenes, and they always feel frantic, and I really appreciated that. And then like you get the faceless like scientists that are always wearing the gas masks, so you never see their face, so they're
Yeah.
totally disconnected from
It's
humans.
very
And like
I don't know.
you
interesting looking.
no wonder the guy kept saying they're from Pluto because they do look like kind of like just like alien.
Yeah,
And I think that was the whole point.
Oh yeah, because you never see their faces, and when they talk, it's very like Darth Vader-esque.
It's really cool because there's like quite a bit to like. You could probably dissect this quite a bit, and like there's just a lot of stuff going on, and I really appreciated it, and it didn't waste your time.
What?
I know.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
A movie that doesn't waste your goddamn time. It's surprising, I know,
I'm in shock.
but it didn't. And yes, it's high concept. I don't think it deserves to be a B movie. I think this is a really good movie.
Yeah,
I'd probably own this actually, but
it's fun. If
It's a
you
good
can
one.
somehow find this, I mean, I think this is worth a watch if you like Mad Max
if you
and
can
things
get
like
a
that.
hold of like an Australian copy, go for it. Like I say, if you want to watch a good Australian like thriller, you could do a lot worse than this.
Yeah, this is good.
Yep, it's really good. So go watch The Chain Reaction.
The Chain Reaction.
It's well worth your time. For They Mostly Come Out at Night, this has been Will.
This has been Alex.
We will talk to you all later.
Bye bye.
Goodbye now.